much intent on doing as much of that as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, excuse me, to each of you on your nominations, and if confirmed, I look forward to working with you. Ambassador Bass, I'd like to begin with you, and very much appreciated your thoughtful responses on how to make the State Department work better and be worthy of the dedicated personnel who work there. I was also pleased to hear your mention of AHIs and your commitment to ensuring that people who are affected are taken care of. I know the State Department has made some significant progress in addressing that. That's very much appreciated. One of the things that I understand the State Department does for new ambassadors is to have briefings, and as part of that ambassador school, there is a briefing on AHIs. So can I ask you, Ambassador Brzezinski, and you, Mr. Adler, if you will attend those briefings and ensure that you are up to date on how the State Department is dealing with Havana syndrome or AHIs?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Brzezinski, you were quite eloquent in talking about Poland's history and the partnership that the United States has had with Poland. And I appreciated that, and I think that's why I am so disappointed to see what's happening in Poland now. And despite assurances that we've been given on things like media freedom, I still have real questions about how Poland is approaching some of these issues. On TVN 24, for example, while they have renewed their license, the Polish regulator is still, my understanding is still contemplating asking the Constitutional Tribunal to review foreign ownership of media. And so that would put us back at square one. So I hope that you will be very direct with the leadership of Poland about the importance of media freedom, of values, and why that matters. And their engagement in the EU and in NATO really depends on their continued commitment to the values that they embraced but now seem to be backsliding on. So can I ask you how you will approach that?
Thank you so much, Senator, for that question. And yes, it's almost ironic that we find ourselves in our relationship with Poland in the situation that you described, Senator. And when you think about the genesis of post-communist Poland out of solidarity, what was the newspaper that supported the solidarity movement? Gazeta Wyborcza, which of course stands for Election Gazette, one of the free newspapers that emerged out of the solidarity movement. The movement was in part driven, its essence was about free media and, lack of infringement on media freedom and so forth. And so we will be watching closely what the regulator, CRIT is what it's called, it's acronym, as February approaches, not too far away when it comes to TVN7, the entertainment dimension or the entertainment piece of the TVN group and its license renewal. And we will also be watching for the status of the media law that was put on ice. And again, we were encouraged by President Duda's words that he will veto any law infringing media freedom. But this is something that we will work on with other friends of Poland's as well to make a unified and common message about values, because indeed that's part of the international commitments that Poland agreed to when it joined NATO and the EU. And it would be highly ironic of Poland as chair of the OSCE, and it's the next chair after Sweden, to infringe media freedom while being the chair of the OSCE. So we will be watching closely, Senator.
Well, thank you. Having said that, I do very much appreciate Poland's willingness to support the opposition figures from Belarus who have moved into Poland looking for a safe haven. And at the same time, I think that has been very important in standing up to Lukashenko and what he's doing in Belarus. They have not been as helpful, I think, with respect to the migrants who have been used as really a weapon by Lukashenko and Putin against the West and against Poland. So again, what can we do to continue to support Poland in their efforts to house opposition figures and yet make it clear that the treatment of migrants is not helpful in the overall goals that they're trying to achieve?
It's a great question, and it's important to note that there are almost 1 million Ukrainian refugees who have found their home now in Poland and are assimilating and thriving quite well as an immigrant community in Poland, having to flee what is happening in Ukraine, especially around cities like Wrocław and others. And I completely join you, Senator, in saluting Poland's support of the opposition leaders like Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, who are standing up against the Lukashenko regime. And to just take a step back and think, and just I ask myself, who would do what Lukashenko is doing, luring the poorest people of the world to Belarus to march through those dark forests, cold forests near Białystok and Białowieża to be projected across the border? It's stunningly cruel, and we will work together with our friends in Poland and Europe to address that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Haggerty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to turn my question to Mr. Nathan. Good morning, Mr. Nathan. Congratulations.